Our main man, Chucky Atkins, joins the show.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all
What up,
doing,
brother?
Nice to meet you.
Good, man. Good. I appreciate you hopping on here, man. Hey, man, I said that with basketball was for men, man. What's the deal? We just had Chris Childs on, who two-piece Kobe. He just left the show, and he was like, "Man, this shit is kind of soft. This shit kind of soft now, man. Where you at with this? Where you at with this, Chucky? You was a gangster on the court, man. I love watching it."
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, man. I'm at a place where, it's a lot different. You got to accept it for what it is. Obviously, they've changed a lot of the rules to give the guys with the offense a big advantage because people want to see high-scoring, games. They don't want to see people getting beat up no more in the games in the 90s. So they switched the rules up, and that's the way it is. I don't agree with it just simply because I would love to have played in today's game with all the threes being shot and the game being wide open. You know what I'm saying? That was more of my game. So these rules came a few years too late, I guess.
Let me ask you one more thing before Big Smitty dives in. I got to ask you the common denominator with all the OGs that have been coming on this show that played in the NBA. Or the NFL, or we've had multiple Hall of Famers on. The common denominator is games played. You motherfuckers play. You played 82 games, 81 games, 79 games, 82 games later in your career with the Lakers. I mean, 75 games later in your career with Memphis. These cats are playing 30 games, man, and getting paid quadruple what y'all got paid. I just that's the problem I have with this, and I think that is what makes this the league soft right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to watch, right? To a certain degree, because when we play, like, you knew that you signed up for 82 games. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the goal was. It's always 82 game season. It's going to be rough. It's going to be some spots where, hey, man, it's going to be days where you don't want to get out there, but you got to play. That's what we signed up for. To me, that's the soft side. Like, if I'm a fan, I want to come see, everybody wants to come to see the stars, right?
Right.
So what happens if it's a team that only comes to Orlando one time a year? The Western Conference teams only come one time, and Wemby don't play, or Anthony and Ant-Man don't play.
Right.
It's like, man, I paid good money to come see these guys perform, and then all of a sudden they're sitting out because of whatever reason. It's a pinky toe, or some crazy injury that you should play like we had to play through. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's the softest part. To me, it's like, man, you guys getting paid a lot of money to go out there perform. People paying good money to see you guys perform. Let's do that. Let's perform.
Yeah. To that point, though, kind of bringing it back full circle and looking at the teams that we have remaining here in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals, it feels like that even though this era is a softer era, the tougher teams of this era still were the ones that seem to prevail. We look at the Knicks, the Pacers, I would even say, to a degree. Let's start there on the East. What's your feel about the series? Pacers, Knicks, who do you like? Why do you like?
I think in the Pacers Knicks, that's going to be a war. Last year those guys went to 7 games. New York has changed their team up a lot. They kind of built up their wing spots to have to compete against the Tatums and the Browns. So I think Indiana has the similar makeup as those guys do, and it's going to be an amazing series. I'm going to lean towards the Knicks because I just like the way Obi plays. I like the way Jason Hart plays. Those guys play with a lot of grip. Mikal Bridges has added a lot to their team. And like you said, to your point, man, like all the better teams right now, you don't necessarily see a lot of guys from the Denver Nuggets sitting out. You don't see a lot of guys from the New York Knicks sitting out. You don't see a lot of guys from these teams that are still playing sitting out. You know what I'm saying? Those guys play every game. So regardless of what the new rules are, the teams that are going to win somewhat have an old school mentality.
Right. Exactly my point. So no, for sure. Okay, so what about out west? You got OKC and the Timberwolves. You got SGA, Anthony Edwards. That's going to be a battle, I think, too. Me personally, I feel like OKC is a better team, but more than us in the playoffs, man. It comes down to like your best players, the guys stepping up in the biggest moment. So I guess who do you like in that series?
I'm going to go with Oklahoma City in the series. I think those guys have been playing extremely well all year. I think they've been playing a playoff style of play the whole year. So just because it's the Western Conference Final, I don't think that they'll play any differently. Those guys are deep. Those guys look to like they enjoy playing with each other. They enjoy playing for each other, and they just came off a grueling 7-game series against a game Denver Nuggets team, and I think that they're up for the task. I think it's going to be an amazing series. Again, Ant-Man versus SGA, the matchup is going to be amazing. But I just think that at the end, Oklahoma City will have a little bit too much, and they probably would prevail. But that's why we play the games. We don't know.
No doubt. I want to ask some questions. You're highly known as a Piston, I think. Played with one of my boys I grew up coaching.
Detroit.
The Prince brothers, Shaun and those guys, Compton Dominguez, Compton alum right here.
For sure.
I want to ask you real quick, that Pistons team, how you guys stymied the Lakers and you went on that run. Unbelievable team performance, in my opinion. One of the greatest team runs I've ever watched in any sport. Because you had stars, but I don't know if you had like a superstar that we look at now and say, oh, you had Jordan, Kobe. You had some great fucking dudes. You had dogs, I think. That's what I think won what got you over the hump. Do you see that? Do you see that in this new era Pistons team? Because I love what they're doing there right now, and how they built that team. It reminds me of your guys' team as far as the structure, the infrastructure of the roster. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on. I think those guys have a guy like Cade Cunningham, and all of those guys are really, really good. They play together. They have a young nucleus, and that team kind of resembles the 04 squad that ended up winning the championship. It wasn't one specific star. It was, Chauncey and Rip and Ben and Rashid and Tayshaun, those guys. If you put those guys on any other team, they probably would have been superstars. But, they sacrificed for the betterment of the organization and for the guys. And they were able to, like you said, stymie the Lakers and win the championship.
No doubt. My second part to that real quick, you had some coaches that were dogs, on your ass, hard nosed. Like that's what we used to know as coaches. Nowadays, it seems like I'm seeing, at least I know what I see, players telling coaches like, no, stop talking. And I got this. Like I saw it the other day. I was like, what the hell? I saw Halliburton tell that shit to what's his name? I'm like, Carlisle. And I'm like, wait, what?
Carlisle old school though.
I'm saying, what's the difference between coaching now and can you coach the guys like we did back in the day with the money they make? Is that reasonable?
I think that's the disconnect. I think nowadays guys are making so much money to where coaches are somewhat scared to say anything to them. Where back in our day, like you had a guy like Larry Brown, you best believe, you bet your ass that you're finna get coached and you're gonna be forced to play the right way. Right, you got Doc Rivers out there. I think he's old school because he come from that old school era. But things are so different now, man. You got guys making $50 million a year. Like you got coaches out there, young coaches now. You got analytics guys that are in the game now. That those guys, man. I'm making $50 million, man. Shut the hell up. I don't want to hear nothing you got to say, which is bad. But the great ones, they always want to be coached. They want to be put in position to be challenged. And that's still never change. It's just things a little bit different. Like I said,
no doubt.
Nah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. I want to go back to your Pistons a little bit. I know we on this show we've recently had like a little debate about a player in Draymond Green as far as his value that he brings to like the Golden State Warriors. And obviously, we know he's a defensive guy, right? His numbers doesn't always showcase how good he can be. And a guy that got brought up in comparison to some degree was your former teammate, Ben Wallace, who's a guy who statistically, it may not jump off the board, but we know how valuable and much of a dog like a Ben Wallace was for your team. So I guess part one, talk about the value that Ben Wallace, was for that Pistons team. And then part two, I want to transition to like the Draymond Green conversation. And do you see comparisons to any degree there?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, you have to think of it like this. Like Ben Wallace, I always try to explain this to people. Everybody has insurance, right?
Yep.
You have insurance to drive a car. If anything was to happen, you know that person, that insurance is going to cover up everything so that you don't have to be out of pocket with a lot. Ben Wallace was insurance, right? Anything that needed to be done on the basketball court, he always had your back. And it was a relief knowing that he was behind you. You understand what I'm saying? Hey, man, if I get beat, I know Ben Wallace is going to be somewhere behind me, either blocking shots or making a defensive play, getting a key rebound. He did all the little things that we needed to get done on the basketball court. You know, and was he going to get out there and score 30 points every single game? No, but he would have moments of 17, 18 points, 24, 25 rebounds. Yeah. Right. And when you get a guy like that on your team who can dominate the game without having to score a bunch of points, that means a whole lot. So fast forward that to today's guy, Draymond Green. He does so many things for the Golden State Warriors that they aren't fancy. They don't catch your eye. But at the end of the day, you don't win 4 championships in Golden State if Draymond Green is not on that team.
Let me ask you something. I think this is why when people say, "Oh, you can't compare eras," this is why I use it. You have to compare eras, in my opinion, because the game has changed. Right, it's a perimeter game. Steph Curry's come in and the Euro League is kind of taking over the big man shooting threes. We're no longer down banging in the post.
Right.
Ben Wallace had to guard fucking Shaq. Like, I'm tired of hearing about this Draymond Green shit. I'm gonna be real. I had Samaki Walker on last week. He was like, "Dog, I get all that, and he's a great player for that team, but without those guys being on that team, I don't think that he wins a title anywhere else. Like, I don't think he can go. I don't think he can go anywhere and be a Hall of Famer. That's all my opinion.
But to Chucky's point though, too, like, for example, like as great as Ben Wallace was, if Chauncey Billups and Rasheed and some of those like scorers aren't on that team, yeah, he probably wouldn't have won a championship either. Because like his game wasn't as a scorer. He wasn't going out there to go drop 35 and but that don't negate the value and the importance of him on that team.
That's my point. His value, guess what happened? When somebody got hurt, he stepped up. Draymond had 4 opportunities this last week. They couldn't win one game, homie, to get Steph back on the court to win one without his GOAT. He's just the me average guy. He's just a guy. He's just a guy to me, dog.
You are the NBA guy. Me and Jay, we can argue all day. We're really football guys at heart at the end of the day.
Right.
Educate us. So JB's saying Draymond should have stepped up and dropped 30 because Steph was gone.
I didn't say that.
That's not what he do. Like,
that's never going to be Draymond.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
The thing is everyone plays their role, right? Regardless of what the scenario is, I'm pretty sure the general manager for the Golden State Warriors know that, man, we ain't depending on Draymond Green to go out there and have to score 20 points a game every night for us. What Draymond is going to do is he's going to get inside the opponent's head. He's going to be the decent defensive captain. He's going to be the point forward on offense. He's the guy stirring the pot and making all the ingredients come together. That's what Draymond Green does, right? If you're depending on him to, Steph Curry goes down with a hammy, and you depending on him to drop 30 to keep the series going, you're gonna end up where you're at now. So in Draymond's defense, hey man, I play my role. We got other guys on this team, and we're made a certain way to where if Steph Curry gets hurt, that's when your Buddy Hills and your
Jimmy's.
And Butler. Your Jimmy Butlers and all of those guys, that's when those guys are supposed to step up.
Right, that's their role. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I just
Draymond has, and let's be real, don't use one series. I've seen Draymond go out there in game 7 of an NBA Finals and go drop 20-some points, 15 rebounds. So it's not like he hasn't done it. So I just defend him because I feel like he gets too much backlash because of his stats doesn't show,
I just, Chucky, all my thing is like, I just don't see how let me just ask you this and I just cut to the chase. Okay. Is the NBA Hall of Fame a little bit watered down by allowing certain guys in? My point is like Hall of Fame to me is like different. Like you should be different. Like you're a different animal. Like you're a top 50, 75 player ever or whatever. Right. I don't know if Draymond falls in that category. That's all I'm saying.
That's a really good question, man. Like I don't know if Draymond Green is is a Hall of Famer, but I know he's really damn good at what he does. And like I said, if he's not on those teams, I don't think that they win. You know, I don't know if they win 4 championships. You know, but to your point, like the Hall of Fame is based off of what you do as a professional, right? What your you know, is it wins or is it losses? Is it stats? Is it, you know, or is it uh a little bit of everything? You know what I'm saying? But I never want to be the one to say, you know, is it watered down? I don't know, because there's a lot of lot of Hall of Famers, and I never want to look down on any of those guys' accomplishments. But you know, we could talk about a lot of guys that have made it, that you could be like, okay, well, is he a Hall of Famer? Yes, no. You know, me per se, I don't see how a guy like Vince Carter's not a top 75 player. Right. I don't see how a Tracy McGrady ain't a top 75 guy.
Crazy.
But they're both Hall of Famers. And you got some guys that are in the top 75 that haven't went in that direction yet. So, you know, you fast forward that to a Hall of Fame, like, does Draymond Green, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I can't answer that.
And that's my point. Like, nobody's saying like he's some garbage player. All I'm saying is the argument we've been saying is Hall of Famer. And that's just this argument that's been going on for a long time. That's the only thing I'm saying. Like, everyone keeps fighting for the Hall of Fame. And I've had some Maki on other guys that are like, I don't know about
that. Ain't the only thing we talk about, but yes, that's the bigger.
But he also, Chucky, I'm going to be honest, and my last question for you, I appreciate you coming on. My thing is, like,
thank you guys, man.
The OGs, like, you, yourself, and Chris Childs and other guys, Samaki, we've had on. They're like, Draymond and Baron Davis went at this, had a show, and they were talking about the respect factor. This is what started this whole thing. And Draymond's like, well, I don't respect the OGs, and Baron's like, you crazy? They paved the way for us. They had strikes and other things for us to get more money, in which we're benefiting from now. How do you not respect the OGs that paved the way, just as in any part of life? And so that's what started this whole thing.
Well, we gotta clean that up though. He didn't just say I don't respect the OG. He's saying like I'm not gonna just automatically just respect you just because you're older than me. Like, there has to be a mutual respect too. Like he said, there's OGs who don't respect this current era, and he's saying like y'all expect me to just automatically respect them just because they're older than me. So that was the more. It's not like he's walking around saying I don't respect the OGs for no reason.
Right. Well, I'll say it. I'm a speak from my perspective. Right. I'm a fan of basketball.
Right.
Regardless of what era you played in, hey man, regardless of what we may think, it takes a lot of fucking work to get to the highest level. Yep. It takes a lot of fucking work to get to the NBA. No right. Doubt. And then when you get there, it takes even more work to fucking have to stay there. So I'm gonna always respect a guy that played on that level. Now, again, like we've been speaking of earlier, right? Yeah, man, I don't respect no guy there that's playing 30 fucking games a year. Like, how the fuck am I gonna respect that? And I had to play 82.
Right.
No
right?
Doubt. No doubt.
Right. You know, yeah, I wish I would have played in a lot easier. I think that this era is easier where it ain't so much touching. You don't hit the ground as much. You don't really have any real rivalry, I don't think, because the game is so
not today.
So light, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, do I dislike some of the things about today's game? Probably so, some of the stuff. But at the end of the day, I'ma always respect it. I respect the new age players just like I respect the guys from back in the day. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, back in the day, Bill Russell them won a whole bunch of NBA championships, and they only had 9 teams, 10 teams." Hey, man, that ain't his fault.
Right.
You're right. His job was to go out there and dominate, regardless of how many teams was in the league. Right? They won 11 championships or 12 championships. So hey, man, that's not his fault.
Right.
You know, Michael Jordan, he didn't play against all these shooters. Man, that man played against more Hall of Famers than anybody else did in a time where the era with the basketball was actually harder. You think some of these guys could have took the ass whooping he took playing against the Pistons for all them years? Like, those are things that they're debatable, but that's what those guys had to do in their time, then in their era. So I never want to take away their greatness. I just say, hey man, it's a different time.
Yeah.
Do I like Do I like to see the kids making $50 million a year? Absolutely, I do. You know what I'm saying? But I also want to see them play 80 games.
Right.
I also want to see them have a real rivalry. You know, I also want to see them understand that there's people out there spending good money to come see them perform, and we want them to play every night. That's it.
Yeah, I actually love that take. Like every era got its own battles. Everybody got their own entity. You know what I'm saying? Like this era might not have the shooters, but this era didn't have the physicality. Well, this era didn't have the Hall of Fame. Right. Everybody got their own thing, and it's just it's all just for debate of who would have adapted. You got to adapt to your era.
No doubt.
Hey, look, and love watching these guys play. I love Jason Tatum, love Jaylen Brown, love Draymond Green, love Dame Lillard, love Steph Curry, love Ant-Man. I love these new generational guys. So it's interesting, and then you always got to give them props and respect them.
No doubt. Chucky, one of our guys who's a normal on our show every week, said to tell you hello. He said that his AAU team used to have to scrimmage you guys at USF. But the great NFL quarterback Shaun King said, "Tell you what's up."
That's my dog, man. Tell King I said, "What's up, man?" Hey, listen, I thank you guys, man, for allowing me to come on the show, man. And anytime y'all need me, y'all got my number. Holler at me.
Hell yeah, appreciate you, brother. Much love.
Yes, sir.
Yes, all right,
sir,
brother.
Man.